Welcome to our fourth video installment. It's been a couple of weeks since we last acquainted, and I hope you are ready now to reconnect with our Quranic Biblical Studies project. The subject of this week is rhetorics and genre. Why? Well, until the late 80s, the study of the Quran was first and foremost a study of the Quran as a historical document. What were its origins? Why did it come into being? What was its milieu and social context? What are the sources to the Quran, and can we trust them historically wise? Questions like these were and are of course crucial to the study of the Quran. But there are other angles and dimensions to Quranic studies as well. Also, until the late 80s, the study of the Quran was also a study of the Quran, the interpretation and exegesis of the Quran. That is how Muslims, and in particular prominent Muslim theologians and sects, interpreted and applied the Quranic text. This approach examined first and foremost the theologies of the Quran. And this approach could also be said to be a rather historical approach, namely the reception history of the text. Both of these approaches were, of course, deeply influenced by philology in its traditional sense. However, since the 90s, the study of the Quran has been blessed with a new dimension or a new approach, or rather, should we say, rather renewed approach to the Quran's literary and rhetorical character. The Quran as a stylistic document. This approach was not least inspired by some currents in biblical studies, what could be summarized as Bible as literature studies. The Robbins Newby article that you are supposed to read, they actually mention, for instance, the important work by Robert Alter and Frank Kermode, The Literary Guide to the Bible. In Quranic studies proper, Angelica Novia, the German researcher, and who is the author of the encyclopedia article, was one of the pioneers of the literary rhetorical approach to the Quran. The questions that she began to address, and you can see it in the article, were questions like, how does the Quran establish its authority in terms of language and speech? This is of course coarse rhetoric. This is of course core rhetorics, namely the study of persuasion and persuasion structures and effects. But also questions like, which kind of rhetorical patterns and strategies can we detect in the text? Are there overarching patterns, or are there specific sub-patterns within specific contexts? What are the salient topoi of the Quran, and what kind of speech or language registers does it employ? And this could be said to involve the question of genre and style. Now, these questions cannot really be pursued without taking into consideration questions of intertextuality. And this is where the Bible comes into our purview. But also, of course, pre-Islamic literature, that is Arabian oracular or shamanistic speech, and Arabic poetry. In Novia's article, she introduces to Quranic rhetorics and its link with pre-Islamic speech and pre-Islamic literature, which was basically an oral literature. But she also links it to certain biblical style genres. Robbins and Vernon's article is decidedly focused on the Quran's biblical intertextualities. First and foremost, how the Quran reconfigures and remodels certain biblical discourse patterns within an overarching monotheistic discourse. Now, this was my introduction to this week's topic. I will upload some study questions later today. So, bye bye for now.